Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. Of course, this weekend, well, we are talking Corn Cuchulainn, I can promise you that, but there'll be plenty more chat because we will be discussing the Shelbourne Champion 550 and a certain English Greyhound Derby that concluded at the weekend with another Irish success, despite the fact that it was bred in the UK, trained by a couple who were born in the UK. It was very much an Irish victory, lads. That's what I'm claiming. Anyway, we'll get stuck into the Corn Cuchulainn, gentlemen, because there was some fantastic racing at Shelbourne Park. Barry, I know that you were on hand. I know that you were on hand because you were covering my dear self. I was off swanning it in the UK, having a great night. Just take it easy, me lads. I'm still a little bit tired and emotional, shall we say. The Corn Cuchulainn, some fantastic displays, some good clocks, but perhaps no one real standout display, Barry.
No, a lot of good performances and a lot of eye catchers in defeat as well. I suppose Dark Ava, she was a good winner of the first. She came from well off the pace, and as we'll touch on later on, I thought Martin Lanny's Roxanne Christoph ran a great race to finish in third. He's been reseeded for the next round. I just say in commentary, when he passed the stands, he was score log champ-esque. He was sixth and well off the fifth dog, and I didn't think he'd feature at all. Even around the fifth bend as it is, he still had an awful lot to do. He was out of camera shot, but he surprised me when he went past the line in third place. So yeah, they've reseeded him on the inside now. I suppose when you look when he won 2 weeks ago in Shelbourne Park, he made a bit of trouble at the first bend. He was shuffled back to fourth after the good start, and it was a similar situation there on Saturday night. So you can see the reason for it. The only thing is, I think he's drawn on the inside of Dark Ava, which, as we know, when she comes out, she's a big bitch and she heads straight for the rail. So mightn't be he needs to be on his toes next week. But yeah, plenty of good performances as we'll touch on in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, Tommy, good to see you. The Exile Dub with us as always. Of course, I actually never introduced you. Barry Caul, of course, the main man at Shelbourne Park over the last few weekends. You left the place tidy for me anyway. I must say, you always do leave the commentary box nice and tidy.
Yeah, I don't like to work in squalor, so after you, I like to give the place a bit of a spring clean. So I was actually looking for a Hoover, but I couldn't find one. So I might bring in a handheld the next time. But I'm off now. I'm off for a while now.
There's definitely a touch of OCD to Barry, Tommy. I can promise you. You arrive in, the place is sparkling. How are you, Tommy? How are you? Good weekends racing.
Fantastic weeks racing. Yeah, some real nice performances too in the Corn Cuchulainn, like Crafty Coral. That was a smashing performance. She was one of the ones that was really authoritative in victory. A lot of them would come from behind, winning by narrow margins, or maybe holding off late and whatever. She was really authoritative. I thought that was a really nice display. Dark Ava as well, for a bitch that led out of traps and went back to fifth place by the first bend, and still and thinking not to go right during the race, and then to come back and win and to win quite impressively too. There wasn't a lot between them with the clock, as Barry was kind of alluding to. You said to in when you mentioned the stake, there wasn't a huge amount between them and the clock. I think something will come out of it next week and do something big. You know what I mean? I think maybe a couple of them, but there are with plenty of potential to improve. So yeah, it's a smashing stake in.
Yeah, I was sitting in a pub in Northampton yesterday morning, trying to shake off the fear, and a man turned to me. We were discussing the action from Shelbourne Park the previous night. He said, Crafty Coral, you'd expect her to do better than 41.61 when she's on the bunny. When you look back at it, the clip on the corner, it was quite authoritative down the back straight. He said, it'd still be no surprise to me if she went out and did 41.10 next week. And I tend to agree with him, having given it a good old look this morning. Let's start with the opening heat. It was Dark Ava that landed the spoils. She's a bitch that does struggle to get to the opening corner, and I think that played into the display here, because there was probably no need for her to check as much as she did, but just I think there's memories there. And I think she lost more ground than she needed to, but she has a big engine. We can see that by certainly her trial performances. Obviously, she was a semi-finalist in the Irish Oaks as well, so she's clearly a high class lady. Mark Robinson has her in flying form. It was a fine display to get up late, Tommy. She had to run hard. She was stuck on the fence, but showed great pace. Bling Bling Paul had set the standard, or set the pace early. Tinnock Solace looked to be the most likely challenger, but as we said, Dark Ava coming from off the pace, 41.80, but if she'd been left alone, it could have easily been a 41.30 or 40.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary of it, because even down to the third bend, she kind of got slightly chopped up again on the inside at that point again, when she looked like she was making progress into third place. So she was going to get there, and then down to fifth bend, she had a lovely turn of pace to get up into third place and flew home. There's still about 6 or 7 lengths to make up at that stage. Like she's, I think we talked about her in the Oaks of what she might be like over this trip, but she tried it whenever else, and how good she could be. I mean, she only won by a length, but she beat Tinnock Solace, who was a winner over the trip. I think we were talking about him last week, was it? So like I think it's a lot better performance the clock would suggest. Like you said, I thought it's definitely like a 41-40.
We actually watched her six bend debut together in Corn Park last October, and I told you the Generous Angel was the greatest certainty ever went in the racetrack, and her jacket went wrong on her. Generous Angel was flapping around the place, and she could never get up to full stride. And it was Dark Ava that beat her that night. That's how her history of six bend performances. Barry Dark Ava very strong. Again, she can certainly go quicker. She may be better in better company in a sense where if she gets a run in behind them, not having to lose ground, just get a chance to run at them if they get out in front of her.
I think we have her pigeonholed as this come from behind, really strong running bitch. But she's racing top company over 525 in Shelbourne Park. And you've seen her lead past the stands on many occasions. And she does lack early pace, but she can be a flying trapper on occasions. And as we know, the run to the third bend or the first bend in the 750, it's only 60, 70 yards. I wouldn't be surprised if if she bombs out 3 and makes the first bend. And if she does make the first bend, you'll see a hell of a lot of a better run than 41.80. Yeah. Because if she's leading top class, like in the Oaks quarterfinal, she led up the first round of the Oaks. She led up past nearly to the second finish line, the 600 line, and then she's really caught her early pace. But one of these nights she will take another one of those flyers, and she could easily lead around the first bend. So I think she's right up there for outright honours because she's a very good trapper. Okay, she could trap better from the middle boxes, maybe a 3 or a 4. She trapped well from one last week. She did ease off a little bit, but if she takes a flyer again into that first bend, the 750, she could go around in front and post a big run.
Yeah. Just be warned, though. We know it ourselves. Waiting for a dog to take a flyer can be the quickest way to the poorhouse. You know yourself. Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Plenty of times before. She has done plenty.
No question about that. Just behind her there, Tinnock Solace. She's a talented stayer. She runs very strongly throughout, but she'll find something too good for you. Imagine through the stake and Bling Bling Paul. Well, he got the run of the race out front. It's just a struggle from the trip. I don't think he'll be winning the Corn Cuchulainn. On to the second heat where Toolmaker Beach. This fellow is finding his feet over this distance, Tommy. He's extremely strong over 4 bends and now seems to be pacing himself that bit better over the 6 bends. He does a 41.77, his fastest time of the trip thus far. It's notable that he did lead on June 10th doing 42 seconds. On this occasion, came from off the pace to win in 41.77. That just goes to highlight the way I think he's finding his pace. I think he's finding how to measure it, and I think he's the dog that's growing into the 750-yard trip, which doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes if it doesn't happen on the first night, it won't happen. But it's happening for this dog. He's a player because he has massive pace. He found himself well out or well back early, but showed great pace to get involved. Ballybock Champ ran through beaten dogs, staying nice and wide. Of course, he's the Deadly 750 winner, Deadly Kennel 750 winner. He's a strong runner. He can go up better than he did. Cleekle Phelps just didn't happen for him. He didn't stay. Ballybreen Blaze was a bad last at the 5th bend, ran on to grab a 3rd. It all got pretty congested up the home straight. The 6 of them weren't separated by very much. Maglass Brave also qualifying, I believe, in 4th. But Toolmaker Beach was probably the dog to take out of it. There's loads of pace.
The only point that he kind of got slightly held up was probably between the last 2 bends. He had shown great pace down the back. Where he needed to be very, very smart because it looked like he could potentially get tight again up at the 5th bend. He stayed well. Ballybock Champ just gave away an awful lot of ground around that first 2 bends, going very, very wide into the straight and kind of conceded quite a bit. I thought that was a nice performance. But again, the margins are small. Margins are small between getting a decent run in a race and not getting it. I mean, he's back in about 5th place, I think, going to the first bend. Like I think it's going to sort itself out. I think you said it, Ian. You know, right? We have dogs in there at the moment who have a bit of early pace, who don't have the stamina, who some of the makers of the competition there, they're going to do the same thing next week. It's just going to thin itself out and make itself let the classier stayers maybe come to the fore a bit more. But I think in some ways it's probably the most dangerous round in the 750 is the first round where you have those early pacers who don't quite stay because they are going to get in the way. You're going to have to find a way around them if you're one of the dogs that doesn't have that kind of early pace. So I think that was a decent performance. Ballybock Champ ran a cracking race too, but it was actually quite tight. I think top to bottom, I think it was quite tight in that heat, wasn't it?
It was a length, a half, a short head, and 3 back to Cleekle Phelps, who just blatantly didn't stay. Just want to give a mention to Cleekle Phelps. He did a 13.50 off a slow start. The pace he showed up passing the stands, I think, while he doesn't stay 750 yards, I think it'll do him no harm to get that confidence run, get to the front early, show a bit of pace, really, really stretch his legs out at Shelbourne Park. He's a bright young prospect. I think he'll be very, very talented, over 575, 600 yards. And if he does brush up his trapping, could be a 550-yard greyhound. Barry, anything to take out of the race outside of Toolmaker Beach, who impressed?
Yeah, I think it might have been a little bit deceptive, this race. I think Helico Phelps actually led off the last bend, believe it or not, and still finished down last. But I don't think it was littered with strong stayers. Canada Goose was her first time over it for Martin Lanny. I'm not sure McGlass Brave is the strongest of stayers. If somebody had told you Toolmaker Beach was fourth passing the stands, although he's very strong over 4 bends, I don't think he would have said he would have come from behind.
If I had said to you, Ballybreen Blaze was going to qualify at the 5th bend,
yeah,
you'd have said it was mental, like he was bad last at that point.
Exactly. So I think there was an awful lot of non-stayers in the race. But look, Toolmaker Beach, the clock was there, 41.77, so it was a good performance. But I don't think he can come from fourth or fifth again, and when the company gets a little bit hotter.
No, he'll be looking to turn a bit more prominent, as you say, and show his pace down the back straight. That's where the likes of Toolmaker Beach has to do his damage, is down the back straight when they get that full straight to run at their rivals. Because if he's not in front by the 5th bend in better companies, you say, it's going to be a struggle up the home straight. Outside of him, of course, Ballybock Champ can go up faster. He's just 41.84. When you consider he was out of the washing for much of the way, it was a decent run, and 3 Ballybreen Blaze back in third. He may actually need 4. She may actually need further. On to Heat 3 here. Trap 3, Ballymac Belvold Barry. He got out front 13.66, cut across Chunky Monkey. May have just got a clip himself, but went on to win in 41.50. Set the standard, but the big eye catcher was in second. Droopy Soldier. I didn't think he'd stay it. I'll be honest. I really didn't think he'd stay it. And he ran a big race in defeat. Back in third, Balnabola Bolt. Nothing else really got involved. It was about Ballymac Belvold out front. Really nice performance by him. Seems to be just a bit stronger this year. He's running very well in recent weeks. He ran really well at Towcester. Nice display.
Yeah, it was. The Chunky Monkey took a flyer and he was hot in his heels around the opening 2 bends. Maybe he did lose a length and a half, but took it up past in the stands. And into the 5th bend, he was gone 5 lengths clear. Droopy Soldier was well back and forth at the sprint box, second for the first time around, actually. He showed big pace into the 3rd bend. And at the 3rd bend, he was still maybe 5 or 6 lengths off the leader, but he was only beaten 2 lengths. And for a dog having his first go over the trip, he certainly looks like he's going to stay it. Clocking 41.64 in defeat, met a bit of trouble. Like, he can go up stronger as well, as we've seen over in 5.25. He's come out in a good style in the past. So yeah, he's definitely an exciting one to look forward to. He flew down the back straight last Saturday night, but Ballymac Belvold, he has all the tools really needed for this trip, doesn't he? He's a bit of early and he seems to stay it strongly.
He does. It sort of pointed out to me over the weekend, Liam Dowling's dogs are flying, Tommy.
Yeah. In every competition, they just started 550. Had a couple of winners, and they were actually he had a young pup below in Corrine Park on Saturday night as well. Looked
Joey, Ballymac Joey,
yeah. Looked, and the runner up in that is another one to watch out for, Johnny Linehan's dog. His dogs are absolutely flying. I thought there might have been maybe as Barry said, maybe a length and a half kind of cost to Ballymac Belvold, because as they came out of the 2nd bend, Ballymac Belvold wanted inside. The Chunky Monkey wanted middle to move middle. They were kind of just trying to get out of each other's way. And when they did, Ballymac Belvold went on. Droopy Soldier's a big dog, 83-pounder. He's a prime example of how sometimes a race like this can suit and even give confidence, even though he didn't win, right? A gap opened down the back, and you almost think when the 2 dogs switched wide down the back, he just said, here's a chance for me to fly through, and just seemed to pick up all of a sudden, and had that space in a race that maybe he won't get very often if he's not, if you're not leading, if you're not doing whatever. He ran a cracking race for a big dog that maybe can progress over the trip.
A greyhound who was 21.50 for the sprint trip at Dundalk, 28.15 at Shelburne Park. Only a couple of weeks ago, he was beaten a length by Zoom, who's an absolute speed merchant over 5.25 yards. Very strong running greyhound over 4 bends. As I said, I wasn't sure he'd quite stay it. I was collared. I popped down to the commentary box at Towcester on Saturday night to grab a drink in one of the corporate suites, and a fella that with a big beard called me. He says, well, did you see the dog tonight? It was Robert Gleeson. He was delighted with Droopy Soldier. He'd been watching it from Towcester on his phone, more than delighted with it. He says, his dog has a life. He's right. Ballymac Belvold, again, you're going to want to be on his outside. You don't want to be on his inside. And Balnabola Bolt ran very strongly on the outside. Great to see Brendan Murphy. He's had some very decent stayers over the years. A wide seed, likely to get his draw.
One thing I would add to it is you say sometimes the dog will run like that now on a run, the runner up say, And it'll be next week before we really know how well he's suited to the thing. Because sometimes, obviously, having a second go at 750, they might go, "Oh God, this is a bit much for me." Like, so you will.
It's the night he pings out, you'll really find out, because when
Yeah,
they
yeah,
really
yeah,
are setting their own pace, like he could hit the wall at the fifth bend. So there is an asterisk there still to be
there
proven,
definitely is.
but it was a very encouraging start.
Exactly, that's exactly it. Exactly it. We won't be surprised if he goes either way. If he turns into a terrific 750 dog, or if he decides, okay, maybe this is just a little stretch too far for me. We won't learn that over one night. It'll definitely be, as you say, it'll be another night, probably when he leads.
It was the same decision our parents had with all of us lads when we were 13 or 14. This could go either way, you know. On to heat 4. Luckily, we all went down the right path.
Was going with you.
Luckily, we all went down the right path.
I don't know about that.
Heat 4. Heat 4, a certain crafty Kokoro, gentlemen. I dare say that everyone, when this competition started, okay, granted, without your own personal allegiances, if you had a runner or not, for the neutrals, this was the one you wanted to watch in action. Crafty Kokoro, she obviously was going to need the run. She had done a 28.46 trial, but she should do that with her eyes closed. She got to the front. She got a clip. Just between the first two bends, lost momentum. Like, she's only doing 13.88 to the winning line. So she's well behind some of the dogs. It's like she's 38 spots behind Kaliko Phelps to the winning line first time out. And she goes on to post 41.61. It was authoritative down the far side. You could see her with a clear passage and just that run under her belt. She could definitely go faster, Tommy.
Oh, I think she definitely could. Yeah, it was one we were all trying to, waiting to see, and to see how she'd react over. She had kind of wowed us with her finishing efforts last year over 4 bends, and I think it was. Well, there's not going to be any doubt about her. We're not going to be saying, will she be suited to it, or will it be the same next week? It will be. It's just a matter of getting a decent draw. Again, there's quite a few of them who like to edge in. She's after getting, I think. She get decent. Yeah, she got trap 1, I think, next week. That's a cracking heat, actually, the one that she's in next week. But she got prime position. She's probably got to be favoured, has she, to win it?
I would imagine when the prices do appear, whenever today or tomorrow, that she will be. Yeah, I'd imagine she'll be topping the betting lists. Roxanne Christoph and Viper's Buzz. Viper's Buzz has long been a very, very pacey individual, Barry. He's good form over 5.75. He ran very well in the likes of the Kirby and Produce Stakes in his first season. I think he's had 1 or 2 issues, but I'll tell you one thing: when he gets loose, he can run. And for him to run as well as he did behind Crafty Kokoro's testament to his ability. He's a dog that over this trip may need to get loose. Like, he's doing 41.96. He's going to need to go better than that. He's going to probably have to front up, but a big race by him. And Roxanne Christoph, who you already mentioned in depth earlier on the card, earlier on in the podcast. I think he's minding himself a little bit in the opening corner. I think there's obviously issues there. He's a dog that missed considerable time in his career. He has injury problems. He was such a superstar in his youth. It'd be interesting to see how he does handle the middle or an inside draw. Because I think on the outside, when there's so many dogs in his dinner, I think he is minding himself a little. I thought he should have got around the corner the previous week. Yeah, and then on Saturday night, okay, he wasn't going to go around the corner, but he should have turned a lot closer than he did.
Yeah, he should have. He came out okay, that way, and he was checked twice around the opening bends. And I just say he might have something up in his head. The previous week he was stopped around the first bend as well after the fast start. So yeah, he did drop himself out a bit, but look, he's a very pacey dog still to finish towards doing 42. Even when he won previous week, I think he clocked 41.58. The
engine's there, Barry. Like, there's definitely a 41 tandem if he hits it. The problem is, will he get around that corner?
Yeah, so maybe that's what they're trying the inside. Look, hopefully he can come out and get it. Even if he nicks himself around to a decent second or third, he could still go under the 41.50. But yeah, look, just give credit to the bitch. She's from a good litter. She's a sister that Reckless Nanny. She's another promising bitch as well. But yeah, I'm surprised
she wasn't in it.
Yeah, there was a few. I thought Beach Avenue might have went for it as well. I'm not sure what was up with him. At this stage of his career, I thought he would have went for it too. I'm sure Hello Hammond and Price's Jet would have been in it if they weren't otherwise engaged. But yeah, look, it's a good performance by the bitch. As you mentioned, Viper's Buzz, he's been running in top class company throughout his career. He started off in the Kirby last year, and Roxanne Christoph. Yeah, big 3 went through really on the betting, so interesting to see how they get on next week.
We'll move on to the final heat, because this turned into a cracking little head-to-head between Magical Poppy and Generous Angel, with the latter coming through to land the spoil. She took it up at the 5th bend, and despite drifting off a little bit off the final bend, rallied again to hold Magical Poppy, who had set such a searching gallop from the front. Trapper Louise, a big eye catcher in third. she's not overly young. She's only won 5 times in her career. She absolutely hammered home. She could maybe stay further in time, but it was about the front too. Generous Angel got there. Magical Poppy was second. Generous Angel, Tommy would have needed the run. We know how very talented she is over the trip. She's obviously a Winter Racing Festival winner. 2 years running she's after winning at the Winter Racing Festival. Very talented indeed. It was interesting to see how she handled the wide draw. She handled it okay. Obviously, she turned close enough to the pace, so there wasn't much handling in it. But good run by both the winner and the second.
She hadn't done an awful lot of racing either for her, which has been around a while. And there were a few things that were quite impressive about the run. She was there were a couple of points I thought during the race where she was kind of trying to think her way around the leader, and even when she was in the clear coming down the straight the first time, she was inclined to edge in, and then she came up to the leader, Magical Poppy, and she kind of just took a little bit of time just to get by and go around or whatever else. And I know Magical Poppy was coming back in the final strides and all that, but like you said, I think she needs it. That was a fair run now.
Yeah, it was definitely fair run. Both of those bitches will be very prominent in the betting, you'd imagine, Barry.
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance for the top two. Also, the bitch you did mention in third, Trapper Louise, she was in front at the pickup. She stormed through to get toward ahead of Bornell Bruiser, who's strong enough over the trip himself. But yeah, I thought Generous Angel was going to go on to win by maybe 2 lengths off the last bend. But in fairness to Magical Poppy, she did rally again up the inside, only a neck between them at the line. I think those two, Magical Poppy has a little bit of early pace over the trip. I think she could be one to keep on the right side of. But yeah, if you think Generous Angel is going to improve for the run, she was nominated for Stayer of the Year last year as well, and I just say 2-time winner at the Winter Festival, so she obviously has plenty of class. But yeah, I like the front two on that. And look, Trapper Louise could go well if she keeps on finishing the way she does.
Yeah, she certainly could. The Shelbourne Champion 550 was also on Saturday's card. Some really talented trackers in this. We don't need to point that out. 4 dogs in the opening heat. Deadly Showtime set the pace, but Ballymac is very, very strong. As we said, Tommy, Liam Downing's dogs in flying form. When he turned as close as he did, Deadly Showtime, was always a bit vulnerable to the likes of a big powerhouse like Ballymac, who came through to land the spoils. Again, Pablo Escobar absolutely hammered home. He's an exceptionally fast greyhound, very strong, but he's yet to win a race. And just looking up the other night, he probably doesn't have the early speed for the 550-yard trip. He'll be a real star over 600 yards, you'd imagine, in time. Hanover Phantom, perhaps a little bit disappointing, backed into favoritism, just didn't quite happen for him the other evening. Deadly Showtime is obviously going to be very hard to contain early. And then when you have the likes of Pablo Escobar and Ballymac, in a 4-dog race, you're always going to struggle perhaps to hold on to a place in the frame. But good winner and, more encouraging run by Deadly Showtime.
There are a couple of ways to look at it. And Deadly Showtime, whether there were 4 or 6 runners, was probably going to lead anyway. Has terrific early pace. But to say, and what you might say that Ballymac, with only 3 other rivals, is probably going to get a good run behind him. But actually, it's still a fair performance to pick up Deadly Showtime the way he did. I think it's a fair run. He
did show a little bit more early speed than he has done, which is something his brother Emily's Jet did. In this first few starts, wasn't showing much early, and all of a sudden it arrived. And who's to say Ballymac won't be going up that little bit faster now?
He just when there was a bit of space in front of him, he went across very tight at the first bend, Ballymac, which was just kind of just put nearly slightly concerned me more than anything else. But no, maybe if the dog's inside him, he'd track differently or whatever else. But like he went very wide down the back, showed terrific pace to get by Deadly Showtime, because it's to my mind, it's no mean feat to get past that dog. That is a good dog, Deadly Showtime. Got loads of ability. He swung wide again off the last bend. I kind of forgive Hanover Phantom. He hit the rails fairly hard at the first bend and the whole lot. I had expected, like we were talking about him last week, saying that he had a track record for the 550 in Galway, and I had been expecting a little bit more last week, and I hadn't seen what I would have hoped that he might have a little bit more early pace. Obviously, lacks a tiny bit at the very, very top level. Unless he can develop, I doubt that can come now, to be honest about it. But maybe I'm being a bit harsh. I just thought he might have a bit more in that department if he was going to compete at 550 level against Derby dogs in Shelbourne Park, which is what obviously they'd hoped that he would be doing, and he will. I'm sure he will be contested when the time comes.
Well, definitely, he'd probably take another run or two just to acclimatise to the hotter waters of Shelbourne Park, perhaps.
Yeah. It's much more competitive. Maybe it will come. I wouldn't like to pigeonhole him now already, but I thought there might be a bit more last week. And again, it was a kind of a similar performance going to the bend I felt this week from Hanover Phantom, but then he hit the rails quite hard at the first bend, and that kind of gave up all chance. And Pablo Escobar did what you said, Escobar. He flew home. It's a good name, by the way.
Yeah, it is a good name. Barry, a good display by the winner, good display by the second. Just nice dogs, all four of them.
They were, yeah. And I was talking to the McDonald's briefly last Saturday night after Hanover Phantoms race, and they were hopeful of a big run. And look, he still clocked 29.75. He would have qualified from any of the other heats, you know, that way. And it's hard to lead up the likes of Deadly Showtime. Okay, that was going to be a hard task. And then to try and contain Pablo Escobar. So, look, all's not lost with him. As I say, he still clocked 29.75. Pablo Escobar, he just hasn't got the early, has he? And it takes him a while to get going down the back straight. He's not flying down the back straight either. He does come home with a rattle. Deadly Showtime is just Deadly Showtime, isn't he? Out and gone and wears his heart in his sleeve. But yeah, Paddy McBain, good performance to pick up Deadly Showtime. Decent clock, 29.50.
We'll race through the rest of these heats because we do have a certain English derby to discuss. But the second heat, there was an interesting line of form here. Of course, Vincenzo, very impressive winner in 29.46 for Pat Guilfoyle, who in his second or third last start was beaten 2.5 lengths by a certain Hanover Phantom around Galway. So, you know, the form is tying up okay for Hanover Phantom. So it would suggest there's better to come from him. But Vincenzo, a very good winner. Obviously, he could not have handpicked a better draw with the other Kobe in trap 4. The other Kobe did get loose, didn't quite, you know, hold on, sort of beaten, what is he beaten, a length and a half in 29.40 odd?
Beaten a length, yeah.
Beaten a length in 29.46. There's no question, he's a very, very talented dog, and he'll be a big player in the Derby. He did 29.33 last week, especially if he gets the inside draw. But Vincenzo, very strong run by this fellow. He had shown signs in the opening round. He ran on very strongly from an unpromising position to grab second. This week turned much closer. Fine display, Barry.
Yeah, it was, as I say, the draw, like looking back at the replay, it was like the Red Sea parting up the home straight the first time. So he had plenty of room to operate. Good. The other Kobe done nothing wrong. Clocking 29.53, getting picked up. It's a good run from him. He's loads of early pace. I thought Mullingar Shuffle was a little unlucky back in third. He was thereabouts into the corner, ran on well to take third. Gaston Piquet hit the rail at the second bend. He lost all chance. But yeah, Vincenzo, good run by him. Patrick Guilfoyle. He doesn't have any bad dogs, Patrick, does he? Plenty of good ones. And
he certainly doesn't.
That's another good one to add to it. But yeah, first three home all ran well. Mullingar Shuffle, yeah, he ran well for me in third.
Tommy?
Something display. Where did the dog come from originally? He obviously was in Towcester he started his career in Towcester, and he came to Pat probably either, I'd say early this year, was it?
I don't think when he was in Towcester, he was owned by Peter Sutcliffe. So Peter obviously bought the dog and brought him back to Pat. Obviously had heard something or shown something and just decided. I don't know the story behind the dog. It's something I will ask Pat when I see him. But you know, he did start in Towcester at the start of his career, and like it wasn't one of these situations where he was sent back for a reason or anything like that. As far as I can see, he's straight as a die. He looks a really just solid performer. 28-18 trial, obviously big run at Limerick in the opening round of the Golden Muzzle. Was then taken out of the second round to run at Galway in that open 550. So I don't know why that happened, but yeah, very fast greyhound. He's building up a nice card. The other Kobe still I still think he'd be a big challenger to the Derby, Tommy. He didn't hold on the other night, but he really does have superb speed.
And just as Barry said about Patrick Coyle, there's another stable or kennel there, Jennifer O'Donnell, that don't have too many bad dogs. They tend to be of selectability, don't they? The whole lot of them, in fairness to the two.
No, absolutely. A lot of the big kennels in Ireland at present are starting to flex their muscles. You know, it's gonna be a very interesting few weeks ahead of us as we talk about Champion Stakes and Derby. On to Heat 3, 2 in a row, led early briefly. Droopy's Nice One soon challenged. She ran an unbelievable first and second bend, Tommy. This was the Droopy's Nice One we know and love. She was absolutely sensational. 2 in a row. I just wonder, there's a little bit of gloss coming off him. You know what I mean? Derby favourite at 1 point. He's disputing the lead into the opening corner. The bitch basically outpoints him.
Yeah, she ran a particularly good first 2 bends as well, because she's on the outside, maybe a couple of dog wits off the 2 in a row, and at a point where when you're taking the bend there, you can when you're basically almost stride for stride, you can certainly lose a length, maybe length and a half. She was desperately wide off the last bend, which would obviously be a slight concern, but she flew home, and that's the bitch that we were talking about, the bitch which ran Swords Rex to a short head in Clonmel, and the bitch that we'd hoped that we might have seen in the Kirby as well. That's much more like it. All right, yeah, she's a smashing prospect. 2 in a row. Kind of forgive him. He's obviously had issues along the way. I'd be if he was mine.
He was a non-runner from the National Puppy Stake, and it's taken a while to get him back to a form. Like he did everything right last week, 29.54. He does a 29.57 the other evening. But it's, you know, just the dog he was the back end of last year. You'd be expecting at this stage to be doing a 29.30 odd, and you know, really sort of showing what he's still obviously a big player in this competition.
if you're doing 29:57, he's not a million miles away. And also, I would suspect that maybe if whatever ailed them is in the mind of connections that they're just being careful with, that they're probably thinking, we can't go too hard on him too soon and whatever. So maybe they're just thinking, hey, let's just keep him fit and going and see how he gets on here, and let's peak him for the Derby. I suspect, no, maybe it's not quite, maybe it's nothing like that, but that's what I think.
Let it be said, there was nice money for him when he was on his layoff for the Derby. So yeah, I think you could be absolutely spot on there.
Yeah, I noticed that he went into about 12 or 14 to 1, didn't he, for the Derby at the time? So yeah, look at that. He's obviously doing something at home, and they're thinking, yeah, they're confident that they can get him back to where he was last year. That you were talking about to that point, and maybe even a bit beyond. But I don't think that whether they win the Shelbourne Champion 550 or not is that important to them. It'd be lovely to pick up, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. €7,500. Barry, very nice display by Droopy's, nice one. And 2 in a row. Hoodoo Brown was back in third. And sort of, if you stand back and look at it, you go, it was an okay run. It was Emily's Jet and Lujaneo he was leaving standing down the back straight. He is an immensely fast greyhound. He's beaten 5 lengths, didn't show the same early dash this week, obviously in much hotter company. But no, good display by the winner, the second, and of course the third.
Yeah, that was visually the most impressive Droopy's nice one was. As you know yourself in commentary, I was ready to announce 2 in a row as the leader into the back straight when the two of them went around together. And for her to be nearly a 2-length leader into the back straight, that was a big run for her. I gotta say, I was a little bit disappointed with 2 in a row and Hoodoo Brown, I suppose, in second and third. But look, as Tommy mentioned, they're still clocking 29:57. A little bit disappointed with Hoodoo Brown back in third place. But yeah, visually on the night, Droopy's nice one was the most impressive winner for me.
Yeah, sure was. Nice to see Murtlahi with a nice bitch.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Whatever they're doing down there, they're doing it right. They are absolutely flying. Imagine having the likes of a Droopy's nice one or Rahamo for a Droopy's Gloss and saying, yeah, I've won a home faster. Yeah, exactly. You might have 2 at home faster, whichever you're talking about. 3 unbelievably fast ladies. On to Heat 4. Ballymacleon, he's starting to do it right, lads. His half-brother, Pastana, was a dog that, had a 10 or 12 starts before everything started to click. Ballymacleon, things are starting to click. And I just wouldn't be surprised if this fellow kicked on again in the coming weeks. And I think we could have a really, really bright prospect here. I was very, very encouraged by the run of New In Homer in second. I thought he showed tremendous early speed, got a bump on the first, got a bump then around the bottom 2 bends. I thought he ran a big, big race. Like, he's doing 30:02, but that could have easily been 29:50 and winning by half length. Do you know what I mean? And Kilgraney Sydney again, while he didn't get into the frame, I thought he ran another very encouraging race, showed loads of speed, took a couple of bumps at crucial times. Oak Front Cadet is a dog I know plenty about. He certainly won 600 yards. He's an absolute flying finisher. He can go up a bit better than he did, but in this sort of company, it's hard to contain the likes of Ballymacleon, New In Homer, and Kilgraney Sydney early. Ballymacleon, Tommy, he's just a really nice dog. Obviously, we know he's bred in the purple. Liam Dowling has suggested that he thinks plenty of him. It's easy to see why.
What you said is what I was thinking the other night when I was watching. He just really is beginning to do everything right. Yeah, there will be greater challenges in the early pace department, but he did everything else right. Really did, like tracking and everything about the performance was powerful. The race was over at the first bend. He held New In Homer into the bend. New In Homer got a bit of a bump, but he just powered away. Like, he's not like Pastana in the sense of the early pace that Pastana showed, but he'll go a long way in any competition he's in. He's obviously going to be a Derby contender because, like you said, I think he's just going to keep stepping up. There's something really, really nice about that performance that like you said, felt like it just clicked from a bit.
Yeah. Barry?
Yeah, I think New In Homer's a dog with huge early pace, and I don't think we give him Ballymacleon the credit he deserves. He clocked 29:04 over in Towcester for one of the trials of the Derby, which is a huge run over there, 29:04. I think the two of them came away really well. Don't forget, New In Homer has broke 16 seconds for a sprint down in Clonmel. Yeah. And he came away with him and he held him to the bend. Now,
Barry, when it comes to the Derby, do you think he'd be seated middle?
No, I don't think so. I know he moved to the middle of the track, but if you're seated middle, you're going to get 5 and 6. I don't think he wants to be that far out. I think maybe they might just stick him in the middle. I think New In Homer could easily be unbeaten in this competition. Last week, I think it was a 2 in a row, went up his inside in the first round, and that was the winning and losing of the race. And again, there, if he had been drawn and won on the inside of Ballymacleon, I think he would have went around in front. So I still think he's a big dog.
If he'd been drawn and won himself and Ballymaclean may well have clashed. There could be Kilgraney Sydney going around in front.
Yeah, that's true. But I just think if he had had the inside line the last 2 weeks, he could have won both. But yeah, look, I like Ballymaclean and I like New and Homer. Ballymaclean, that was only his 11th start the other night, and yeah, I think the two of them could go well in the competition, and it could be two to keep on the right side of going forward.
Yeah. Anything else to discuss from Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, lads, or we move on because we still have a little bit to talk about?
Just briefly, I thought Sentimental Lad was very good in the last race, breaking 31 seconds for the 5.75. That was a big run as well.
Yeah, really powerful greyhound. I'm sure he'll be challenging for the likes of the Champion Stakes in Derby. If he doesn't go through, you'd imagine that he'll be set up for one of the Opens 575 or 600 Derby final night, and I suppose that's the line to be taken all the way to the Winter Racing Festival. He's made for that trip. Just gives a chance to get loose in the opening yards, and he's a very, very strong running greyhound. And gentlemen, there was a couple of mentions. Go ahead, Tommy.
Sorry, just one question before we move away from Shelbourne Park. Just what is the story with sectionals at the moment? Because I look at those 550 seeing 346s, 347s. Like they're not, what I'm used to.
I have a feeling there's something different with the trip. On Thursday night at Shelburne, I actually rang the racing office and just said, just keep an eye on those sectionals, because there was dogs doing 220s and 230s that looked like they were doing 210s. So it just might be just a different setting or a different issue or something. But I really don't know, because some of them looked like they were 330s, with 339, 340s that were coming up that length slower. It's something I noticed as well. I thought something was doing better than 344, shall we say?
Yeah, it was two.
Yeah, they were all 344s. It looked to the eye like they were doing faster than that. So it's one to keep an eye on, but I'm sure they'll be looking at it themselves.
At the moment, I would suggest it might be, from my mind, it's probably 8 to 10 spots away from what you would think they are. Most of them are. That's the way I'd be kind of reading them at the moment.
It's something that's happened for years. Like there was a time where they used to do 190s for the 525, and now 2 seconds is absolutely blistering. Do you know what I mean? So obviously they can change over the years with different settings and whatnot. I don't know. Maybe there has been work done, but it's something I'll ask the question. Just looking at the draw for the next round, by the way, I see the other Kobe's in trap 1 with New and Homer in trap 2. I think Kobe might have a little bit of room in the early yards. Another cracking competition, 2 semi-finals, really, really wonderful racing at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Gizmo Classic won the Treaty Cup at Limerick on Saturday night, gents. He's really turned into a very talented sprinter. I would imagine Dundalk will be his bag, Barry.
Gizmo Cash, yeah.
Gizmo
Cash, yeah. Like beating Serene Ace, 2 top class sprinters, aren't they? Serene Ace can do it over 4 bends as well. But yeah, 18.48 down in Limerick will be a big player down at the over the Dundalk trip, over 400 yards. I presume Serene Ace will go there. A couple of dogs ran in sprints over the weekend. I presume they will have, I think, 50 Cashback. He's a good sprinter, one down in Cork, I think, over the weekend. And plenty of good sprinters around at the moment. Interested to see Pat Buckley sprinter. What's his name?
Flashing Willow,
yeah, I'm sure he's gonna go for that as well. So it's shaping up to be a really good competition down in Dundalk.
Yeah, absolutely is. Tommy, you mentioned there was obviously the Dennis Lennon Solicitors Unraced has thrown up some really top class dogs over the past. I thought 3 very nice types the other evening. Ballymac Joey and Droopy's Rocker. You've mentioned Ballymac Joey winning by a head by Droopy's Rocker, but 2 very fast dogs. But I was particularly taken by Bocco's Crystal. I know I might have had a few beverages on board when I was being shown the video by Bev Lockheed on Saturday night at Towcester. She was very excited. She did plenty of things wrong, sort of went up a little bit with the boxes, seemed to check, got lost into the third bend, and still gathered herself up to come home and win by a length in 28.47. She's very young. She's very strong. Speaking of Sentimental Lad, she's a half sister, or Bocco's Crystal. Is it a crystal? Crystal, is it a bitch?
It's a bitch. Crystal, 71
pound bitch. Yeah. She has an engine, Tommy.
She has. I tell you what. Well, obviously we didn't know anything about her before last week, and if you look at her trials, you'd say, God, she must have massive early pace. She's done huge sprint trials and whatever else, but she tends to. She hasn't shown it yet in sectionals wise, and she also tends to. She's been in trap 1 both nights and just comes a bit right out of traps at the moment. She isn't helping her, but she showed terrific pace because, as you said, for a bitch of little experience, a big bitch of little experience, to come from behind Velasco to win and to kind of to track so well. To do it and have it get held up a little bit along the way. She's obviously extremely talented now. She is, as I said, she's a 71 pound bitch. She's going to improve quite a bit. I'd forgive her. I don't think I would be saying this is she's going to lack early pace forever. This is a bitch that's going to develop into something pretty special. The other heat in, Ballymac Joey is a real prospect, and the runner-up showed a terrific pace in defeat there. Like you said, you take the three of them out in a heartbeat, and I wouldn't rule out that Velasco will continue to improve quite a bit. I don't know where box-wise he wants to be yet, but another nice prospect. It's a really good stake. It's well worth watching that final, watching the heats and watching the final there next Saturday night.
So, talking about pedigrees like, Drubby's Isabella is Adama Drubby's Rocker, and Ballymac Arminta, one of the greatest of all time, like 2770 around Shelbourne Park. Think about it that way. That's certainly her fastest thus far. But if she's producing in her first litter, well, get excited for the future. Now we're going to turn our attention to Towcester, gentlemen. It was a wonderful night at Towcester. Beautiful evening. It's a great venue when the sun is shining. I can promise you that. Real party atmosphere. Yeah, it really is. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, as you probably saw by my my social media presence over the weekend. Yeah, I wish you could have to blow into a phone before you can use it at times. But no, a great weekend, a tremendous winner. Romeo Magico landed the spoils. It was a race of circumstance where Kildare broke well, Romeo Magico didn't break well, and that was the winning of the race. Because when Kildare stepped out to trap 3 around the opening 2 bends, Romeo Magico had cleared Hello Hammond into the corner, found himself on the fence, charged through off the second bend, and that was that. He was going on to win the English Derby for Graham Holland, a first English Derby victory for Graham Holland, and for Dave Firmiger, who is a very, very well-known name of the sport. A man who's been breeding top-class greyhounds for quite some time, and to be a British bred winner of the English Derby meant plenty. And I know Dave Firmiger was absolutely over the moon after racing. While Graham and Nicky seemed to be quite in shock almost, not really sort of embracing what they had achieved. Dave Firmiger was more than embracing it. I can promise you that, gentlemen. Tremendous winner, Barry. How did it view from Shelburne?
Yeah, look, it's the more I look into it, it's hard to really claim him as an Irish winner, isn't it? But we'll try our best, But,
well, no, I listen. He was led up by an Irishman or an Irish woman. Was it Rachel or Timmy? Because they were both born in Ireland. And I said to Timmy, "Do you speak Irish?" "Sha," he said. I said, "You should be saying "ta." But yeah, so like, I asked them where was home. They said Golden, County Tipperary. So
that'll do.
That's enough for me. That's enough for me.
But yeah, look, when traps opened up, obviously, Mickey Sparrow took a flyer. What a story that is. To touch on that in a second. But I thought Kildare, when he led around the first bend, I thought he'd every chance to go on. But once he moved off at the second bend and Romeo Magico joined him, it was going to be a 2-dog race from there. The big stayers were always just a little bit too far back. Price Jet was maybe a little unlucky at the third bend. He was held up by Mickey Sparrow, but I don't think he would have got there. But hard to believe it's Graham Holland's first English Derby winner with all the good dogs he's had recently. But delighted for them. And Romeo Magico, yeah, he was a deserved winner. He was.
Tommy, he was a 6th English Derby finalist for Graham Holland. And everyone says, like what Barry is saying there, it's hard to believe it's his first, but he actually only really started the challenge for the English Derby about 5 years ago. It hasn't been a 15-year crusade, like Peter Cronin, perhaps, who again had a leader in the English Derby. Third time he's had a dog lead in the English Derby. Third time he's been pipped. Kildare ran a magnificent race in defeat. He really remains a very, very bright prospect. That was his 11th career start the other night. He's reached 2 finals from the 2 stakes he's been in. He's had the chance to win over €250,000 after 11 starts. That's not a bad twist for a dog that's still coming forward.
He's had 11 races and he's been in the Kirby and English Derby final, which is quite remarkable. It really is. I mean, after just 11 races to be in both of those finals, and for Peter Cronin, you have to feel for him to some degree, obviously, because Kildare, he has yet again with his dogs in the English Derby, he's done everything right. He's produced them as good as they can be. Like, you could not say
on that occasion. Yeah. Because I think we'll see better from Kildare again. 550-yard Shelbourne Park.
But that is an art in training. In whatever it's horses or dogs, they'll be able to produce them, to produce their best on the day. And Kildare did that. He produced his best. He was just a bit unfortunate. We talked about Romeo Magico ad nauseum for a long time. We know that he did that tendency to miss the kick. Isn't it somehow ironic, or maybe fitting, maybe in the opposite sense of it, that he can miss the kick? As we talked about, saying his lack of consistency at the boxes has often been costly, whereas his lack of consistency at the boxes actually paid, dividends the other night. Because
if he breaks on level terms, he's trying to challenge on the outside of Kildare, and anything could happen then.
Yeah. And then Ian, if he's challenging the outside of Kildare ran a cracking race. It's not like Romeo Magico once he hit the front of the second round. I thought maybe he'd go away and win by 4-5, and he didn't.
A length of 3 parts, yeah.
he did what did he do? 28.95. So he ran a superb race on Magical. He ran close to like not a million miles off track record kind of and level. And yet Kildare didn't go away. Kildare kept at it the whole way. So like it turned into a terrific race. But the key was that there wasn't a huge amount of early pace on the inside. Romeo Magical missed it. And like he did in the semi-final, except for he was against inferior dogs in the semi-final, he was able to show a bit of acceleration into the bend to lead in the semi-final. The other night, it was just crucial to get across the dogs inside him and get the rails at the first bend. When Kildare moved out to about 3, as you said, he just slipped through, and that was the winning and losing of the Derby. So there's a certain irony. You would say, you know, I don't think Connections will be looking any further in terms of, hey, we won an English Derby with Romeo Magical. We've achieved something pretty special. So I mean, what he does in the rest of his career doesn't matter. But like when we were cold about it, and in a few weeks' time, when we're talking about the Irish Derby, we'll be saying, his lack of consistency will probably get him out and knock him out of the competition at some stage of the Irish Derby, because you can't afford to get away with that sort of stuff. It's just fitting, or something about it, that it just worked on the night for him, that doing things slightly wrong worked out to be right.
Yeah. I'll bring you back. Go on, Barry.
I think they all come out with great credit when you think of it. Like, you start with the top dog, Savannah Bow. He was bought after winning an A2 in Clonmel and an A3 in Shelbourne. Did they ever think they were going to get to a Derby final?
Yeah.
That was great. Kildare, he's run his 10th race. He's been in the final of a Derby and now a final of an English Derby. And now it's mentioned to be just picked up in second. Hello Hammond. You never thought he was going to go through 6 rounds of a Derby without running into trouble.
Hello Hammond was like 6 clear to the escape. Yeah, he came from behind Savannah Bow on the home straight. What he did up the home straight was unbelievable.
But you never thought he was going to get to an English Derby final, because the trouble that he used to meet in Shelbourne Park, and he was always a little bit inconsistent, undoubtedly fast, but inconsistent. And then obviously 4 wins the race, 5 to Mickey's part of that story. That was brilliant, and it brought so much to the Derby, with the likes of Jeff Stelling telling the boys, wishing the boys good luck on Twitter and all that. That was huge. And Price's Jeff, like, for the age of him, breaks another track record. So all 6 come out with real good credit. Good final in the end, but I think we had a deserving winner in Romeo Magical.
Yeah, gentlemen, as I used the line probably ad nauseum, especially when I have a few drinks on board on Saturday night, this wasn't a race that was lost or won. Like, he went out and won the race. You know, he had to go and take the race, and that's what you want in the Derby final. And yes, the connection to Kildare will be going, God, if only this and if only that. But you know what? They still have an unbelievable greyhound, and his next competition could well be, I dare say, the Derby. You know, and who's to say that Kildare won't be in the final of a Derby? Because yes, the consistency hasn't been quite there at boxes, but you know what? That's 2 nights in a row now he's after leading in the English Derby, and perhaps that consistency is coming. And if he does find his consistency at boxes, he's going to be every bit as, as much a Derby contender as any other dog in training. And everything is just, it's coming up lovely for this Irish Derby, lads. There is just a lovely mix of young dogs coming through, a few established performers. You know, there's a certain Susie Sapphire to be bang there in contention. Like, this is going to be a serious Derby.
It is. And you look at the bitches that are around at the moment. Like, going back 3 or 4 years ago, you used to always see, was with Bet Boyle Sport used to have a bet, a dog 1 to 5 to win the Derby. A bitch, not 1 to 5. A dog would be, a bitch was always a big price to win the Derby. So the bitch won't be a big price to win the Derby this year. You've seen what we had in the Oaks. And don't forget, we done an awful lot of bitches.
Don't be silly. Bitches can't win the Derby, Barry.
There you go. He said it. 27th of June. Remember this. No, look, I would have been with you, but first and second last year, you never know. Yeah. There's a lot of good bitches around at the moment.
They used to have a bet where it was a decent price for a bitch to reach the final.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Like, there hasn't been that many finalists in the past 10 years. Like, that's there. Kill McDonough, Carol Gowiff.
Would you believe now? Would you believe? Do I have the list here? I do. Look at that. In my best handwriting. I wrote that last year. Bitches in the Derby final.
Look, you can't see that.
I'm telling you, Batty Spirit 95, Old Maid 94, Drums of Queen 93, the other Toss and Pets Echo in 90. In more recent times, Kilmacdonough in 2019, 2016, Holy Cross Leah, Sedarian Pearl, 2013, Carol Gareth, 2006, Barefoot Jenny, Mustang Mega 03, 02, Tamla Rose, Tiny's Bud in 2001, 2000, Miss Tetley, and back down through them to Springtime in 99, who was the last Derby winner prior to Susie Sapphire. It used to be every couple of years. You know, there was a gap between 2006 and 2013, but all of a sudden we're probably at a stage where we're nearly expecting a bitch to get to the Derby final. Certainly the group we have over the last 2 or 3 years. And again, this year, there just seems to be a very, very special group there. But listen, we have to talk about Romeo Magical for one more time. I bring you back to the Easter Cup final, and he absolutely flies down into the back straight into the third bend and just doesn't get a run up the inside of Susie Sapphire. Looking back on it, that was some Easter Cup final when you think about it, lads.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying, go on, Tommy, go on.
No, I was going to say, we talked about him so much that we knew the pace had been there. But like when you get a competition like the English Derby, the Irish Derby, and you have to do it week in, week out for 6 weeks, you will need a little bit of luck along the way. But when you get to a one-off race, it's all like Romeo Magico is always dangerous because you know the talent's there. It's just a matter of whether it'll fall into place for him or he can just do things right, like he did the other night. It did fall into place for him. So yeah. He deserves it. He deserves it. He's got that sort of talent, in fairness.
When you look back to his first 2 or 3 starts and the unbelievable promise he was showing, the pace, the ability, the fluency, he was a long-range greyhound. He was always going to take a little bit of time to get it, to know himself more so than anything else, just fill his frame and whatnot. But Graham Holland always described him last year as a bit of excitable sort of a greyhound. We had spoke about it during the Easter Cup, Tommy, even the early rounds of the Easter Cup, having shown great pace and strength in his first 2 runs of the year over 5.25. He's very much a stronger greyhound this year, very much a more mature greyhound, son of Magical Bale, who was himself one of the most beautiful movers you've ever seen. And here we are now. Romeo Magico has developed into the star, and he's after climbing the mountain that his father couldn't do. Magical Bale was favourite in both an English and an Irish Derby decider, and couldn't quite get there. I spoke to the Westwell Racing boys the other evening. They were over the moon with Romeo Magico winning as the son of Magical Bale. It's fitting that we are talking about him being a Derby champion because he's always had Derby pace.
He's a Laurel semi-finalist as well, which is a real speed track where you definitely can't afford to be missing the kick at all. I mean, that's even a good, a fair achievement in itself for the type of dog that he is. So, yeah, we shouldn't underplay it. We should definitely, he deserves to be hyped up as a very good English Derby winner. Like the semi-final wasn't a particularly strong race. The final was a bit stronger in fairness, and he came up against a really serious dog in Kildare. So he deserves plenty of credit. It's oftentimes a career like his will go without something like that to be capped or crowned with something like that. There'll be a lot of dogs that have immense talent and things don't happen for them. It's a fair achievement because as we talked about over the last couple of years, there were times when it looked like he may not get back to his best, and then those are signs of promise, and then he might get knocked out of something or get beaten. And it's a fair achievement by Graham Holland and the whole team to kind of get him to a level of consistency that could get him through an English Derby final and to produce a performance like that in the decider. So yeah, nothing but serious credit for all of them in the final. Who would have thought that even that priceless jet, Corn Cuchulainn winner, would be in the final of an English Derby a year later? The Corn Cuchulainn is starting Saturday night. He's running in the contesting the final of an English Derby. So there were a lot of good stories, as Barry talked about, a lot of good stories in the Derby final, but none more so than the winner.
I think, Barry, I just heard an interview with Graham Holland after or before the race. Actually, he said he was a stronger dog this year. I couldn't believe he was 6 pounds up in weight from when he started his career. And that's a huge amount of weight. I never
noticed that. Yeah,
so he started off at 34 kilo. I think he was 37 and a half in the final. Graham said he put on a lot of muscle and strengthened up. So he's certainly right. So yeah, 6 pounds higher, but a good winner.
I know, like that they're just enjoying the success at the moment, but great to see him back in Shelbourne Park, lads, won't it?
I'm sure he will be.
Everything goes back to Shelburne, boys.
Oh, you bring it on. He'd be the first ever Derby winner, dual Derby winner, wouldn't he? I know Tom's the best done it in separate years. Yeah, look, he's a chance to do it.
And there is a bit bonus. We have to mention Star Sports have put up a huge bonus. I think if they complete the Irish-English Derby or English-Irish Derby double, I'll tell you that's just a little bit sweaty now. You know what I mean? I don't think he'd be Derby favourite. We won't be too far off it.
No, he's got 16 to 1 at the moment.
Yeah. I think that's about right. Just with those little sort of, as we say, the trapping issues there, and given the fact that this year's Irish Derby is going to be absolutely red hot.
Yeah, we've seen. I thought Cuchulainn Hoffa was brilliant at Shelburne last Saturday night. Really, really was. Or a couple of weeks ago, I thought he was outstanding. He didn't even come away that well, and he still picked it up. He looks really exciting for me now.
Yeah, there's a lot of dogs that have not really appeared at Shelbourne Park that performed in both the juvenile and the juvenile classic, the likes of Dubby's Edison I mentioned as well, and We Can Dream, and dogs like them, they'll appear in Shelbourne Park soon. Of course, Swords Rex has to return to Shelbourne Park. We have all the English Derby dogs, the Balnabula Eds of this world, certain Susie Sapphire, Sing Along Sally, Braha Mofo, the bitches. You know what I mean? They're going to come with everything guns blazing, gentlemen. It's going to be an unbelievable summer. It's going to be an unbelievable summer. The All-Ireland may be in July, but we have plenty to look forward to in August and September. I can tell you that. Listen, gentlemen, a pleasure as always. Barry Caul, you may take off that Bohemians top. You were disgraced the other night by the mighty Rovers. Tommy Lyons, great to see you, brother. Great to see you. Will we see you soon?
Yeah, please God.
Great. I'm going home now. I'm going to curl up on the couch in the recovery position and trying to get myself right for Shelbourne Park on Thursday evening. Gentlemen, a pleasure as always. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks again for joining us on this Monday evening and Talking Dogs. Of course, we have a wonderful Corn Cuchulainn, a wonderful Shelbourne Champion 550 to look forward to at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. More top-class racing coming in the coming weeks, of course. We never even got a chance to mention the upcoming Dundalk International. It's back July 12th. It promised to be an unbelievable race. I hear some of the names being mentioned. I know that Explosive Boy and Good Cody trial the other evening. Balnabula Ed, Singalong Sally, certain Romeo Magico may be invited. You never know. Well, he certainly is invited. It's a case of whether he turns up or not. But again, Dundalk International worth waiting for. Of course, we have the Barwon Irish Sprint Cup, and of course, top-class racing throughout the country. So it's going to be a very, very exciting few weeks, and it all leads towards Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby, which will conclude in the second half of September, a little bit later than normal, thanks to Garth Brooks. Gentlemen, either you going to Garth Brooks?
Who? I wouldn't watch him if he was on at the back garden, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure. I could see you in a Stetson now and a pair of cowboy boots. Could you, Tommy? He already has the shirts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you got to skip. Thanks anyway.
Good luck and God bless. We'll see you next time.
All the best.